Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I've got for you a video in the IS-7. I'm going to do one of my how to play, how to set up videos. These have been quite popular recently, and I've just been going through a couple of tanks, like I did the EBR, I think I did the Skoda, and they've all been relatively popular. So I thought, I'm trying to mark the IS-7 at the minute, why not have a go with one of these? It might be popular, it might not, because I mean, everyone and their mum pretty much has the IS-7 these days, so who the hell knows? But yeah, we are going to be playing this game, funnily enough, in the IS-7. We're on Cliff, and we have got ourselves a very, very, very nice matchup. Now, a couple of things that you will notice about my setup. First things first, I am using all large consumables and full APCR. The main reason for this is because if you look at the Mark of Excellence mod, you will see that I am nearly at 3 mark. I wasn't quite this close when this game was played, but we weren't far off. I was over 90%, just put it that way. As well as that, the full APCR, I think most people kind of play this tank, not necessarily full APCR, but you do take a lot of APCR, and that is something that that you will see in this tank a lot. Is it fires a lot of gold, and that is because of the pretty terrible pen, to be honest. And that's kind of one of the things you do have to take into consideration when playing this tank. Firstly and foremost, the gun is pretty terrible. Like, in terms of tier 10 heavy tank guns, I would say this is actually one of the worst. Well, maybe not one of the worst, but it's definitely not one of the best. Just pure, like, gun for gun for gun, not based on the tank, just gun for gun for gun. It is one of the worst, and you're gonna see it misbehave quite a lot in this video. And like I said, one of the bad things is the penetration. 303 on the APCR, and it is APCR not heat, and I think it's 250. Yeah, 250 on the standard rounds, which is really quite terrible. And the thing is, as well, it's not like it's AP or APCR and heat. It's AP APCR, if that makes any sense whatsoever, which basically means that there is really, other than a tiny bit of normalization, there is absolutely no benefit to firing AP over the APCR. So you will find that a lot of people literally just like full setup APCR and don't really care, to be honest. We're taking a bit of a bullying in the middle of the map here. The IS-7 probably isn't best suited for the middle of the map on Cliff, but I didn't really know where else I wanted to go. I would say that this AMX M451, you can see me there looking at my armor, is getting relatively lucky. He's also getting insanely lucky with his damage rolls as well. Doing, I can't remember, like 473 and 440. And I'm pretty sure we bounced one of his rounds earlier. We did, and which means we know he has got the small gun. So he's just rolling incredibly, incredibly high. Also on the IS-7, you will find that it is kind of, it's a bit derpy. Like, the accuracy is really an issue. And actually not long after this game, I did go for a slight setup change. We'll just put it that way. Started running prune consumable rather than fire extinguishing, because we got firefighting on the crew, and I found that's helped a bit. But the gun is relatively inaccurate. Like I say, the penetration isn't great either, which means you can't just auto-aim center of mass and go and fire, and you're going to go through. You actually have to aim because you've got lower pen, but you haven't got the world's most amazing pen, so it is kind of, it's tricky, and it can be really annoying. Also, on top of that, you have got a relatively poor reload for the amount of damage you do. This thing is, I remember at one point, and again, this will have changed due to equipment and consumables and everything like that. But for my 490 alpha damage guns at tier 10, my WZ-111-5A was at a 9.3 second reload. My Object 277 was at a 10.3 second reload, and the IS-7 was sat there at an 11.3 second reload, massively longer. And like I say, the 5A and the 277, they both get the really, really nice 340 heat pen, whereas this thing does not. So the gun is kind of a letdown. So what then is this tank all about? And that will be purely and simply the armor. I have been getting penned in some weird places this game, but this thing's turret is legendary. It is literally, it is the be-all and end-all turret. It is the best turret probably in the game in terms of armor. I can't think of anything that's any better. If you look at it from the front, it has no cupolas whatsoever. It is rounded as all hell, and you're just not penning it. It's got no weak spots on the front of this thing's turret. Just absolutely none. Again, this AMX 7451, he's firing AP as well. I'm here saying, well, the armor is one of the best things about the tank, blah, blah, blah. But this guy's penning me fairly consistently, so don't potentially look at this part of the video in terms of that. But yeah, the armor is really nice. The front of the turret, like I say, is pretty much impenetrable. Even the side of the turret, like when you turn the turret to the sides, if people aren't firing gold, it's not the easiest thing to pen, especially tier 8s and tier 9s, stuff like that. The front of the hull, sorry, it's tricky because one of the weaknesses is the lower plate. So obviously the traditional thing to do with most tanks is angle it, but because this thing has got the pike nose, this thing is legendary. And again, I'm probably speaking to a lot of newer players here rather than anybody who's played the game for any considerable period of time. The pike nose basically means that flat on, if you can hide your lower plate, it's very, very good because obviously thinner armor, but much better angled armor. Whereas the lower plate, if you are completely in the open, if you angle, you shoot the cheek. If you angle, you shoot the cheek. If you're straight, you shoot the lower plate. But it is still really, honestly, quite decent armor. Like, if you can get this thing, just hide the lower plate and keep the hull pointed straight towards the enemy, you do genuinely, you bounce a lot of shells. Even like tier 10 premium rounds, you will still bounce them, which is very, very nice. Now, enough of me talking specifically about the IS-7. Let's talk about this game a bit. So we've played mid. This game's kind of been a bit pokey, not really a lot going on of any note until kind of this point. We are very, very, very heavily down. If I just pause the video here a second. 4,500 HP, and that's pretty much exactly what it is because pretty much every single tank is within my render. To nearly 9,000 on the enemy team, and we are 4 tanks down as well. Really not looking that good. We've got an STRV 103B, but he's not on a lot of health. We've got an SU-130PM, not on a lot of health. TVP VTU is a TVP VTU. There's me sat on a one-shot for some things, sat in the middle. An M48 pattern, still on a decent amount of health. And that is pretty much it. We've lost 1-2 pretty much. There's just a 263. We've lost Donut. Me and the pattern in the middle. Lost 9-0. We are in a very, very dire situation here, and we need to get a couple of tanks out the game. I'm hoping that this AMX M441 is going to poke. He does. He was getting greedy, but fortunately for me, my pattern finishes him off. And big shout out to my pattern here. As you're going to see, me and him do some solid work between us. So the key here is we need to get guns out of the game. I'm still very worried. I'm still pretty sure that the AMX 5120 or the Tortoise are going to appear here any minute. And I was saying on stream, I need to be so careful with these guys here. We've also got the G-Saw and the 277 here. I'm very much stuck in kind of this area. You can see me here, look, literally turning, being like, right, the 5120 or something is going to appear behind me in a second. Also being very careful of the G-Saw that he doesn't peek. Skoda being up on top of the hill is bad. Centurion being in the middle is bad. STRV goes and does something stupid is bad. Grill and, yeah, Panther 2, full health. G-Saw, full health. We're just in a very, very tricky situation here. I'm just trying to be as careful as possible. And as I was saying earlier on about the gun, it just sometimes it lets you down. 5120 spotted. I make sure that I keep the rock between me and him. I'm trying to go hold down to the 277. That time we fully aim and we do manage to get the shot, but I wish I'd have hit the first shot because it could have meant that we got him out a lot quicker and could have dealt with this 5120. Again, 5120, aim, and the shell just hits the rock in front. I don't know if that was poor modeling or if the gun just went incredibly low. And again, with the poor reloads, even with, like, yeah, I just don't, I'm just not able to get the second shot in, which is really annoying because that sticks the 5120 on my flank and it's something that I can't rely on. At this point, I'm not so worried about the Tortoise. Again, probably not the best aim shot. I probably should have guessed that he was going to fall back, but the gun still really didn't behave that much. At this point, I'm thinking the Tortoise has either fallen back, or there is potential, as the last place he was spotted, that he is on the cliff, and he is stuck. And again, fully aimed shot at that G-Saw. I was starting to get really frustrated at this point. I think it was relatively late at night. I hadn't had the best night in the IS-7, and I was starting to get really frustrated with where my shells were going. Again, that one was probably more poorly aimed. That was too long. And we are currently in a 2 versus 6 situation. Obviously, granted, we are 2 tier 10s, but I am very much a one-shot, and the Patton has lost a load of HP and is a one-shot for the Grill, 2-shot for the 50, 1-shot for the Egg Panther, 2-shot for the G-Saw, 2-shot for the Tortoise. So everything that we're not a one-shot for are auto-loaders, or a Tortoise, which is, as you all know, that's probably... It's not got the slowest reload, has it? So here, again, I'm just kind of stuck. I'm like really out of ideas. I'm getting really frustrated at this point because of the how the gun is performing. Once again, we get spotted. I make sure that I'm safe from the 5120 before I peek this G-Saw. Again, kind of a half aim shot actually manages to hit. And you saw the G-Saw there kind of bounce off the side of my turret. Like I was saying earlier, side of the turret, really quite strong. Like, I wouldn't drive into battle with the turret pointed sideways going, ha 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 ha. You're going to bounce off my side turret. But the side turret itself is actually really, really, really strong. Now, enemy team is capping. Again, this Tortoise still not spotted. The longer the game goes on, the more I'm thinking this Tortoise is definitely stuck. Because you would like to think that he would be pushing up. Holding ult, he's got the most HP on the enemy team. You would definitely like to think that he would be pushing up. Especially as where he was pushed to, it's not like he's just been sat at the back of the map. 5120, he has moved around more onto flat ground. I spot him for some reason. He doesn't spot me. I then turn, because I'm still hold down to him, and make sure that he doesn't peek out. I'm in a really poor situation here. Because the 5120 is alive, because my gun has performed so badly, I can't literally just push up to the rock, reset the grill. I have to rely on the pattern getting round. Relying on the pattern is relying on teammates. It always makes me slightly more nervous. 5120 once again peaks. I'm double bushed. He's not going to spot me. But again, I can't push up into this area to spot. Fortunately for me, M48 pattern does spot the grill out. I'm aiming. I shoot. Again, no idea where the shell goes. And the pattern does, fortunately, finish off the grill for me. 5120 again. This time he does spot me, but I am very, very much hull down. M48 pattern, not really sure what's going on. He's taken a hit from something, I would assume the 50, and he's going after the Egg Panther. Basically, at this point, I could push the Egg Panther with the pattern, and I think there's probably the more sensible thing would have been to push the Egg Panther with the pattern 2v1, 2v1, 2v1. However, the reason I didn't was because I didn't want to go back this way, because all the 50 has to do is peek, and then I'm dead. I didn't want to go this way, same reason, if not even more obvious. And I didn't want to go this way, because I'm still at this point, yes, I'm now pretty sure the Tortoise is stuck, but pretty sure is not good enough for me to take a massive risk in going this way. All it takes is him to be up here, and I'm dead. If I push towards the 50, obviously at the end of the day, it is a pattern versus Egg Panther. Two, both one-shots. You'd like to think the pattern would win that fight. All he has to do is just slowly aim, slowly angle, and hope that he manages to get the shot off first, which he should do. I managed to get a shot into the 50. He doesn't return fire. I don't know if he just wasn't aimed, if I tracked him with not enough gun depression, but I managed to get into a position. Yeah, he doesn't look like he's got the gun depression, only enough to shoot my turret. But at the same time, I haven't got the gun depression, which is another thing about the IS-7 that is kind of frustrating, to be honest. And it's basically at this point, I decide I need to risk it here, because if the Egg Panther does beat the pattern in the 1v1, I then need to be ready. I can't chill on the 5120 and then have a Egg Panther come behind me. I just decide I'm going to go around the corner. I'm going to kill him. He 50-50, well, a bit better chance for me that he 50-50 kills me. So I decide to just absolutely go for it. At this point, I'm like, right, I want to try and find the Tortoise, and then I'm going to go around and cap if I can. I'm basically at this point, as well, because I'm marking, I'm kind of being a little bit greedy. The win is not in my mind here. In my mind is the fact that the Tortoise could be stuck, and he could be on 900 HP. Very greedy mindset, I know, could have cost me the game. But fortunately for me, I think it's around about this point, the pattern does manage to kill the Egg Panther 2. And the Tortoise is very much stuck in a position that is very much... He is not able to kill me, which is nice. I'm still being very careful because I don't want to slip down, bounce over my Progetto's wreck, and manage to mess myself up. And I only actually have one APCR round left. And again, the gun depression kind of screwed me over here. But nonetheless, we do manage to finish the game off, which was very nice. 4 kills for me, 5 kills for the Pat, and we did nearly 8,000 damage, which is very, very nice. 1,200 assisted. Very nice game. We locked down the middle of the map for the beginning part of the game. And at the end, to be fair, we didn't actually do a huge amount of damage. Like, if my gun would have behaved a bit better, we probably could have done maybe 8.5, maybe 9,000 damage this game. But unfortunately, it didn't, so we didn't. And also, the end of the game could have actually been a lot easier if my gun would have performed, because 5120 probably should have been dead. G-Saw should have been dead a bit beforehand. Wouldn't have taken so long on the 277, etc., etc., and the game could have gone very, very differently. But nonetheless, very, very nice game. Yeah, that's pretty much the IS-7. I mean, obviously this isn't the perfect map, or it's a good matchup, but not the perfect map for the IS-7. Gun depression is an issue. Obviously, you want to be on flat ground. Try and use your turret. Try and use Rex. Try and use the terrain to your advantage, not using your gun depression. However, this match, A, obviously was very nice because against tier 8s, and B, there was no artillery in the game, because artillery does love you in the IS-7, especially in matchups like this. They are going to shoot you the whole time. Your armor is pretty thick, so it does hold up quite well, but obviously, if Arty decides you die, usually you end up dying eventually. It may take him a while, but they usually end up getting you in the end. Anyway, let's go jump into the garage quickly, just to go through the my setup of the vehicle. I have alluded to it a bit, but just so you guys know the setup. And as well as that, after that, we'll go take a very quick look at the post-game stats. So, I'll try and be nice and quick with this, guys. I'll try not to waffle on too much. Also, I've literally just logged into the game after updating. This garage is quite cool. I quite like this. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. So, like, the replay was from last patch, so I made sure I did that before I updated the game. And then I've just updated the game. Like, I haven't even looked at the Yo tanks yet. WZ-114 mission. I haven't looked at any of it. I'm literally committed to this video, and then I'm going to be like, wow, new shit. Let's do it. So I'll try and be nice and quick with this. Setup-wise, the IS-7 is a difficult tank to set up, because obviously the armor is really good. Something I didn't actually mention was the mobility, which is actually surprisingly good considering how heavy you are. It's always been a thing that the IS-7's top speed is really, really nice. It's just getting to it is kind of the issue. So there are lots of things that you want to improve on this tank, and like one of the things that I said was the gun. You can build for the gun, like that's kind of my secondary layer option, which is rammer. Vert stabs are so nice on this thing, and vents. You could, even if you really wanted to build for the gun, go with something like improved aiming, or I mean, I wouldn't probably wouldn't recommend gun lane drive, but you could maybe rotation. Yeah, you could definitely, I would say rammer, vert stabs, vents, or rammer, vert stabs, aiming, if you want to fully build for the gun. However, I would say definitely the better overall build for the IS-7. You're going to want to go gun rammer still. I know it's for the gun, but you definitely, obviously 10% DPM, you want that. Even with the 10% DPM, your reload really isn't great. Like, I don't know if I've got 277 here. Both got bounty rammers, so it kind of is a decently fair comparison. On the 277, 9.92, and that is without a proven consumable. I'd like to point out on the IS-7, 10.76, and that's with a proven consumable. That just shows you how bad the reload is on this gun for the same damage. And like I said before, penetration is a lot lower as well, so you definitely want the gun rammer. I would recommend bounty rammer or even bond rammer if you can afford it. As well as that, I've gone with turbo. I will probably, once I complete the what are these called? What are they called? Field mods. I will probably, I think it can fit, yep, mobility slot. So I will go mobility slot for a turbocharger, which is really nice. Again, it just buffs your engine power. I'm up to, what, 1290, which is really, really nice. You get an extra 90 horsepower from the turbocharger, taking you up to 18.8 horsepower per ton, which is really nice. And again, buffs your top speed, so you're now going nearly 64 kilometers an hour down a hill, which is quite funny. There are quite a lot of meme-like RAM builds for the IS-7, which can be quite fun. But again, I'm going for a more like competitive setup. And then as well as that, I've gone for hardening, which is something that I think is basically as meta as anything right now. You get 10% to hit points when it's in the boosted slot. I would recommend putting it in the survivability slot. 10% to hit points. So I'm rolling at the minute at 2,700. Again, once I get full field mods, I think I get a little bit extra as well, and a bit of extra engine power, which is actually going to be really nice. Which is really, really nice. As well as that, you get the suspension durability, the repair speed, and everything like that as well, which is really, 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 really nice. You're getting you're getting tracked all the time in this thing. You're a heavy, you're brawling, you're gonna get tracked. It's nice to have the repair speed, and you don't get tracked as often as well. But probably mainly it is about that HP, which is really, really nice. Like I say, that's probably what I would recommend as the build. I would also definitely recommend having a fire extinguisher. I've literally just gone for premium consumable just because I've gone for firefighting on this tank. I've also gone for smooth ride. This is basically through me 3 marking. If I was just playing the tank, I would go for firefighting, leave the crew as is. Because I'm marking, I want the premium consumable to try and help the gun, but because of that, I don't want to be set on fire, so I've used firefighting on the crew. Because I've used firefighting on the crew, I've gone for a snapshot directive. I could jig it around a bit and probably have gone for snapshot on the crew, then a firefighting directive. I don't really know why I didn't do that, but it is the way it is. Field mods wise, recommendation: all-terrain suspension. Maintaining speed when crossing terrain is much better, especially if you have hardening. Sorry, I could not think what it was called. Because that kind of nullifies the suspension durability, and the 5% traverse speed is nothing. The maintaining speed is nice. I've gone for aim circle rather than aiming speed. It does kind of butcher your aim speed a bit. But this is one of the reasons that I swapped out for a premium consumable, because if we go on my aim time, where is it? I've lost aim time. 2.7 seconds is kind of bad, but the premium consumable makes up for the for the downside to this field mod, which basically just means I have better dispersion, which is very, very nice. Probably would go for view range. Maybe if either of these are fine, or you could take neither, or would be fine. Power supply, probably when marking this thing, I'll probably go for gun because it'll gross, but maybe when not, I would possibly go for the forward speed for a bit funnier. But again, when you get the mobility slot, that kind of offsets that a bit. If you do take the dispersions and aiming speed, it kind of offsets your forward speed a bit, which is nice. And then as well as that, I haven't actually looked at this at all. Probably going to go for hit points again, although again, either is probably not a bad option. And yeah, that is how I recommend you play and set up the IS-7. If you have found the video useful, guys, make sure you are subscribed, give the video a like, etc, etc. And let's go very quickly take a look at the post-game stats. And finally, just a quick look at the post-game stats for you guys. 7,692 damage, which was very nice. Picked up 4 kills as well. This was an ace tanker, high caliber, and steel wool. 4,030 blocked with armor. Most of that, to be fair, was in the middle of the map, like against the Tortoise, the E75, Skoda, etc. That bloody AMX M4 was... I'm honestly shocked at some of the pens that he managed to get on me, which is kind of annoying. Also, 1,072 assisted, which I think was mostly... Does it tell me? Was it tracking or detected? Detected. Yeah, must have been spotting them. Anyway, 1,318 base XP. Like I said, big shout out to this pattern. He also helped me carry the game. 5,074 damage, 5 kills, and 1,200 base XP, which is really, really nice. Fired 28 shots, hit 19, pen 16. Like I said, that is a real big issue with the IS-7, is the gun just doesn't hit sometimes, and then when it does hit, the pen is not the best, and it's sketchy at times. But, as we said with the equipment, sometimes it's other aspects of the tank that you want to buff as well. We lost a buttload of credits because I was firing exclusively premium, and like I said, consumables, all that good stuff. We're trying to 3 mark, credits go out the window, I don't really care. Anyway, if you have enjoyed the video, guys, please make sure you give it a like. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Make sure you've got notifications on, etc, etc. And other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.